best known as the founder of City Grit, a brand which in the past has been recognized as one of the most innovative in the industry. When I first opened City Grit, people thought I was crazy because no one had ever done anything like it. They weren't wrong. But City Grit wasn't innovative because it was different, but because it was different. There was no tried and true playbook, no method that everyone had followed before. So it gave us the opportunity to be innovative, to take risks and try new paths to success. It wasn't until I started opening traditional restaurants that I became less innovative and more traditional, afraid to take risks, doing things how they had always been done. And that worked out fine until I had to abruptly close my flagship restaurant in New York City, and within a few weeks find a new home for my restaurant in Colombia. This led me to a very dark place, but it was the phone calls and text messages from employees, the ones that were least privileged and need the opportunity the most, expressing gratitude and selfless concern for my well-being that gave me the light to move forward. Moving forward required relocating 2 restaurants, a management company, and the City Grit brand. And although it seemed overwhelming, I knew it had to be done. I couldn't tell you when it would be done until we decided on where. Luckily, my husband and I had opportunities in various markets, most of them larger than Colombia, with booming economies. Colombia was then and is still going through a transformation. Tremendous news for our dear city. And while it was exciting to be a part of the city's renaissance, I believe that good cities only become great when everyone is moving forward. And I wasn't excited about moving up if it meant those most in need would get left behind along the way. In the months I'd spent crawling my way out of the dark, I had learned a lot about those most in need in Colombia. Like, poverty is highest among 18 to 24-year-olds. 18 to 24 was when I was living my best life, finding myself as a person, discovering my passions, and setting the foundation for my future. It's probably really hard to do those things while living in poverty. I saw firsthand how many kids in Colombia rely on summer meals, a program I'd advocated for years with No Kid Hungry. I'd spent time in front of legislators in D.C. rattling off statistics about the importance of summer feeding. It wasn't until those statistics appeared before me as young, hungry children lined up as far as the eye could see in my own community that the crisis literally hit home. A friend took me around the city's most impoverished areas, including a 60-square-mile stretch with limited bus access and 1 grocery store. Food desert doesn't even begin to describe the situation. I met farmers who were struggling while growing some of the region's best produce because they didn't have enough help. They couldn't afford it. And what they did harvest, they sometimes struggled because they didn't have access to enough distribution channels. We have people in our community that don't have access to fresh food, and one county over, fresh food is literally dying on the vine. I got to know some of the city's homeless and heard their stories of how they lost a battle with bad luck. I had just lost everything I owned. And I realized if I hadn't had my family to fall back on, I could have had a similar story. In the unluckiest time of my life, I feel extremely lucky to have learned about those most in need in this community at a time when I could have done something about it. My husband and I made the decision to stay in Colombia, to relocate the businesses and rebuild them with a larger focus. In the past, we'd operated our restaurants to deliver excellent food and outstanding service as profitable businesses. When and if the revenue allowed, we supported organizations that were focused on ending hunger and increasing food access. Hunger is not the core issue. Hunger and food access are symptoms of poverty. We will never be able to truly solve hunger without ending poverty. And poverty was what was impacting those most in need in our city. It was also the catalyst for us to rebuild our businesses to be about much more than serving food. We believe that ending poverty begins with opportunity, which required a completely new business model for operating our restaurants. One may argue that capitalism as a whole could use a revamp, but it is undeniably time for a new model for restaurants. Over the past year, stories of sexual harassment, abusive environments, and racial exclusion as the norm in our industry have dominated the news feeds. It is time for a new story, one with a headline of a revitalized industry truly built on service. So we went back to our innovative roots and started writing that story. Our restaurant group still operates as a for-profit business, but our for-profit business now exists to serve a larger audience, this community. Feed the city is our mantra. Our idea of service and our definition of guests extends beyond the walls of our dining room. Instead of optimizing the business to positively impact revenue, we're optimizing our revenue to positively impact people, starting with our employees. Our new approach to hiring is much more focused on people, their priorities, and passions than is on experience. While passion doesn't produce profits, hiring people whose passions are closely aligned with the mission of your company produces incredible returns. It certainly was more expensive on the front end, but after a year, we're seeing decreased turnover, increased productivity, lower loss, and higher customer satisfaction, all leading to a higher profitability that enables us to focus our attention on those living in poverty. It makes sense for us to provide opportunity because we believe ending poverty starts with opportunity to those most in need in our community. So we realigned our business to focus on those struggling farmers, food insecure kids and adults, the homeless, and those young adults who should be at the prime of their lives. The City Grit Workforce Development Program is developed for 18 to 24-year-old non-college bound youth. It is our company's first step with our commitment to the community, and it is designed to be transformative. Before these kids have the opportunity to learn how to cut one vegetable or tackle a step of service in the dining room, they're exposed to confidence-building exercises, leadership development activities, and life skills that will set them up for success in any industry. When they begin the culinary training of the program in the late spring, we're going to mitigate the risk of food waste because the food produced during training will be used to produce summer meals for kids in need, with the goal of producing 1,000 meals in 2019. We've partnered with one of our local banks to open checking accounts for these kids, a first step towards building credit. And because we don't want to compete or exclude anyone that needs to contribute financially to their household, the participants will receive a stipend for their participation upon meeting a community giving requirement. Perhaps they'll help one of our farmers harvest produce, serve meals at one of the local homeless shelters, or help pack food share boxes. The program is designed for creating opportunity for a group of individuals who are often overlooked, to provide our fellow restaurateurs with the talent that they need to be successful in their businesses, and to assist those organizations in our community working to end hunger and increase food access with the manpower they need to help them feed the city. We know this program will take a tremendous amount of time for it truly to see an impact. So we took a closer look at our concepts to see how we can move the needle in the short term. When we were developing the concept for our newest restaurant, Small Sugar, we evaluated everything with a community-focused lens, asking ourselves along the way, is this the best experience for our employees? Is it serving our mission of ending poverty? Can it increase fresh food access? Are we putting money back into the local economy? And are we considering the community as our customer? We started with the menu. Most often, chefs will develop a menu and then they'll find purveyors for their ingredients for their dishes. We took a slightly different approach. We met with these vulnerable growers I mentioned previously, and we built the menu around what they're growing, providing an annual financial commitment to them to help push them across the poverty line, and in some cases, providing enough revenue so they can hire that help they need. The community is our customer. One of the local homeless shelters has a linen program. They do the laundry for the towels at the YMCA. When I heard about this, I said, we won't spend money with a national program. We'll actually put our money into their program, helping to provide jobs for their clients. The community is our customer. Traditionally, with a new restaurant, we would go to a big box retailer to buy some tables. But we decided to go local and seek out someone to make the tables here in town. An idea that actually proved to be very challenging and cost prohibitive. Most of the carpenters that we found were backlogged. They had no bandwidth for training someone. But the Richland County Library has a carpentry studio. So I reached out and I asked them if they would be interested in hosting a series of workshops that would enable out-of-work community members to learn a new skill. In this series of workshops, we'll make the tabletops for our restaurant. And the money that we would have spent with a big box supplier will be divided among the participants, putting $20 an hour into each of their pockets. Maybe someone will find a new love for woodworking, and one of those carpenters that we've met previously can hire them. They can grow their business, and a new job is created. In all of these instances, this was money we were spending anyway. Now we're just spending it in a different way. We wanted to be as environmentally conscious as possible, so we decided we were going to start composting. Another thing that proved to be very expensive. But we partnered with a local venue in town. They're in the events business. They are not into agriculture, but their property is full of native trees bearing tons of fruit and gardens. So instead of working with a larger composting company, we built a compost bin on their site. The compostables will be transported to their property, put into the bin, and the compost will be used for all those trees bearing fruit. And guess who gets the fruit? We do. And our team pitches in to use the fruit to make jam, with the proceeds benefiting the Workforce Development Program. All of these tiny changes have the potential to move the needle exponentially for others in the long run. Imagine what could happen if companies in the Colombia community considered the community as their customer. All it cost us was a little extra time and a lot of innovative thinking. Whether in your business or daily life, I hope that you will take the time to consider how you, in your own way, may feed the city. Thank you.